Hey everybody, this is Alex from healthhacksreview.com. This educational series on whole body vibration machines. So in this video we're going to talk specifically about what about these machines is responsible for the health benefits that you get, and is it tied to any studies? Can that information that we know about that kind of stuff going to help us actually choose a machine, a brand, etc.? As long as we know the specifications are legit, what about that are we actually looking for? And I'll just make a very general statement here that's true is both everything we know about linear or vertical plate movement as well as the pivotal types of machines, and that those plate movements move differently. All those studies, consensus in the field, we know that the benefits are generally usually tied to the amount of force that is translated through the plate into your body, okay, and through the cells, all right? And even if you're just standing there doing a static pose, or you're doing some sort of movement on the plate, regardless, it's always about that force that's translated through the acceleration force, the magnitude off of the plate, okay? And so we measured things over the years in a lot of studies related to the muscle spindle cells, okay? And how much of those gets contracted, all right? What percentage, as well as what's the load or the force impact on joints, different areas of the joints. These are a couple of the very core things that we look at. And so if we're talking now about these studies, what we've found is that in general, the health benefits or the stimulation of those core processes that we can measure at least, okay, usually only is significantly measurable at higher G-force ranges. Not so much the higher frequency per se, but there has to be some real force behind the plate in order to activate certain parts of the body without too much stress, but with enough that's going to activate and recruit more of the neuromuscular system, more of the muscle spindle cells. So with muscle spindle cells, for example, normally in normal exercise, you activate a very small portion of them percentage-wise. With whole body vibration, because the plate is actually moving independently, and you can just stand still, it actually causes and triggers a bit of like a reflex reaction of your body. When you have a reflex reaction, naturally your brain is going to use more of the muscle, essentially, to stabilize itself or to move in some way very quickly. So you can be doing different types of exercises, squats, which is a different type of recruitment of the muscles, right? At the same time, when you have that plate movement, it's then recruiting more energy resources, more of the muscle, more of the nerve system is going to utilize while you're doing the same movement. So it really enhances everything, makes it more efficient. These are the types of things that we find out. Don't believe it? Just do a squat on the ground and hold that pose, you know, for 2 minutes. Now do it on a machine that actually has some significant G-force behind it. And you'll really feel that burn very quickly. You might even be sore the next day. Now the frequency of a machine, what they found, if we now go back to studies again, is the frequency has more to do with how fast it triggers the nervous system to stimulate the muscle cells and stimulate contraction mainly. That's what it does. So if you have something that's doing 20 contractions, right, a second, and you have a plate setting that's doing 5, we can generally make a statement that the 20 contractions is recruiting more energy required, stimulating the system more in a more efficient period of time. That's generally a true statement. Now, there is some sort of kind of upper range or threshold when you get higher frequency. At some point, your muscle and your nerve can't really, trigger or respond that quickly. Do we really know exactly what that upper threshold is? Yes and no. But in general, what we do know is citing the studies up to probably 40, 50 hertz. Those are all really, that's a really good range, but you definitely want to stay up and you want to reach like 15 hertz and higher. You still get a little bit of benefits on the lower frequency, but it's very, very slow and inefficient, basically. You have significant drops in other parts of the body that are stimulated by going into the lower frequency. Because in general, with any machine, when you go to a lower frequency, with it, you also get a lower g-force or acceleration force behind it. If you're going higher in frequency, you'll usually receive a higher g-force and upon the body, essentially. Okay, so it's something to keep in mind, and those two things are interconnected. So the harder workout is generally in the higher frequency ranges, because you're then also getting more g-force, acceleration force into the body, more magnitude off the plate. And I would mention, by the way, depending on how you stand, depending on the movements that you do and exercises, that can cause your body to receive different sorts of stress forces, g-force, to different varying intensities in your body in different places. That's why it's good to kind of do a variety of exercises if you're really looking to get a lot of results, regardless of the machine, essentially. So that's pretty much it. The big challenge here now is when we look at all the different brands out there, the main 95% that are resold or rebranded, okay, in the America and Canadian market are coming from the same three manufacturers in China. They pretty much, no matter what they claim, they're all putting out between 0.95, a little under 1 G, maybe to the highest range of 3.5, 4 Gs. There's like a couple exceptions, maybe 5, but even with that 5, you're compromising component quality and other things, just to get that. And there are some issues even with what your weight is. So a lot of these machines will claim they can handle higher weights, and they can for a very short period of time, but know that on certain weight levels, they overinflate those. They can last for a short period of time, but you could be burning out the motor and really affecting it. So that's another challenge here, is getting accurate hertz, getting accurate g-force ratings, and also getting accurate weight load, max weight load sessions. Ideally, a machine that's properly engineered, when they say a max weight load, they're going to be analyzing that max load that they say, that machine will definitely last through the warranty, and if they're a good company, that it'll last a little bit longer than that, even at that max weight. The real issue is that the 95% of machines out there, first off, a lot of times when they give you those specs, they're doing those specifications drawn from tests where they were unloaded. Nobody was standing on the plate. No weight was on the machine. That's one problem. But the other problem is that they give you what's technically true, that it can handle a max weight load. It'll still get the same results, but the question of how long without having a problem at that high performance, it's like driving in your car. Your car, if you look at the speedometer, goes 185, 200, whatever it is. It's high. You're not going to be driving that on the highway. But imagine if you were constantly driving that car. I mean, technically you could drive it at the max on your odometer and just max it out the whole time. If you did that for a few months, do you think that maybe you might have some sort of problems? You might have to bring that car in for repair or whatever it is? Absolutely. So it's kind of the same analogy when it comes to that other area of specifications when you're looking at these different brands of machines. So in general, what's true is 95% of brands and the manufacturers that produce them in China are producing very low G-force machines. Not that therapeutic. And then if we go back to the studies and we look at what the studies were, what kind of results they were getting, they were really getting those results mainly with higher frequency, high G-force, acceleration force machines. Okay, does that mean you can't get any benefit at all with low G-force machines? I don't really believe that from what I've seen, just direct first-hand experience. You can still get some benefits, but it really does significantly drop off. And at that point, you have to wonder, well, sure, getting a low G-force machine is better maybe than not having one. If you're not active at all, you're not really walking enough, you're sitting all day, yeah, of course, sure. The low G-force machine might make sense, but then you have to factor in that they're grossly overcharging you for those low G-force machines. And if you're going to use your time, right, your 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is, 20 minutes a day for a week, wouldn't you rather use that time and get maximum, as much as you can, therapeutic benefits with that same amount of time by using a different type of machine, a high G-force machine. In general, what you'll find is that for a higher performance machine, a company usually had to invest a lot of research and development, a lot of their own money, and a lot of time to really pull off true specifications that are high performance machines. And we can pretty much count those on our hand. There's really only a few that are actually different than the other 95%. And sure, some of them, a couple of them are higher priced, or they have multiple price ranges from low to very, very high. But you'll actually find that, in general, if you compare to that 95%, their prices really aren't that much different. In some cases, even lower. So that's because there's 95% of products, they grossly overcharge, markup for what it actually costs to produce. In general, again, it's $50 to $300 most of those companies are getting their machines for, and then selling them for thousands. So if you have any more questions about that, just send me an email message, or you're free to call. So thanks. Bye.